room. But Alice, if you would like to go first, I was going to read something that I wrote, and I think Dale may want to say something, and then we were going to open it up. What I would do is ask everybody to mute themselves except for Alice. And if you go to, I don't know how familiar you guys are with Zoom, but if you go to reactions, there is a raise hand option. And as the host, it'll appear in order, and I'll call on you and you can say whatever you like. You know, this is just a celebration of Caroline and her life and her work. So I'm really happy you guys made it, and probably more people will be joining along the way. So Alice, if you would like to start, that would be great.
Okay. Well, it probably started more than a year ago. Caroline began falling a lot. She couldn't feel her extremities. She'd just stand up from her chair and fall to the floor. And finally went to the hospital in January of this year. And she was in the hospital for about 2 weeks and really never got a definitive diagnosis. But apparently she had a neurodegenerative disease, which made her hurt all over. It was a very painful thing to watch. She was on morphine and hydrocodone from that long ago, from the time she came home from the hospital and was in bed, in a hospital bed, and never able to arise for the rest of her life, which was about 6 months. So her nerves were demyelinating. And we believe it's well, I shouldn't say this out loud because I don't want to mess up any of our children's insurance coverage, but it might be a genetic condition. Our father died of something very similar and also was not diagnosed at the end of his life, but she took care of him. And then our sister Suzette was the primary caregiver for Caroline, but she had somebody with her 24/7 for that last 6 months of her life, as well as hospice coming in 2 to 3 times a week. Any questions?
I actually have one. When we were reaching out to people we thought would want to know about this, one of the people we looked up, as it turns out, had already died himself and died in Nashville, Timothy Dunleavy.
Yes.
Were
Yes.
they in touch at the end?
Oh, yeah. He lived with Suzette at the end of his life.
Wow.
Until she had to put him in a hospice home, which is where we took Caroline. She was only there for 5 days and died. But it gets to the point where it's just not possible for regular old folks to care for this kind of condition. And Tim had a bad condition also. But yes, he was Suzette's best friend.
Well, he was very good friends with a woman that I was dating in the early 80s in New York. And I didn't know until I saw her at a party that he was giving. I guess they went to high school together or something in West Virginia.
Well, yes. Suzette, let's see, Caroline graduated in 69. Suzette graduated in 72. So they were 1 year together in high school.
For you who don't know who Timothy was, he was a fashion designer, and some of his stuff is in the Museum of Modern Art and the Met. And he was quite a character. He had a great sense of humor, and they were really fun to see together. Anyway,
well, he came to our house frequently during our childhood, high school years.
Yeah, no, he was great. Very funny guy.
Yeah.
I won't repeat any of his humor here, but anyway, if anyone else has a question for Alice, now is a good time.
I just wanted to say thank you, Alice. It was wonderful to hear your voice, because I can hear Caroline's voice in in you.
I can't see that person. Who is that?
Gerard Moulet.
Oh, hi, I see you. Hi.
Hi. Yeah, so it's thanks very much. That sounds like a terrible thing. Did they ever suspect that it was Guillain-Barré?
It was not.
It was not, definitely. Good.
No, something that he gave me 4 titles, and the one I think is the closest to it, if any of you remember Caroline's high arches. Caroline had the highest arches of anybody I ever knew. And that is a symptom of this disease called Charcot, CHARCOT -Marie, MARIE, tooths disease, Charcot-Marie-Tooths. And that's one of these neurodegenerative diseases. And I believe that's what she had. It's one of them that is genetic. And because we believe our dad had it too, that's the one I chose. Plus the feet and lots of the other symptoms they talk about.
I want to say that Suzette and various first cousins of theirs and second cousins of theirs took turns coming to the house to stay for as long as 2 weeks at a time, to be there, to act as, to give care and to be advocates for her care. And that meant a lot to Caroline, to have this constant stream of family members coming to stay at the house.
Every time I came, she would reach her arms out and cry. She was so thankful. And even the last time I went, which was within the last 5 days of her life, I was there for those 5 days. She could hardly move. She could hardly sit up. She couldn't use her hands or feet, anything. But she reached her hands out to me and cried.
Mm.
So let's get on to
Alice.
happy
Still
story.
speak.
Hey, Alice,
And-
I have a happy story for you, kind of. The last really good visit I had with Caroline, which was about 10 days before she died. No, maybe it was 10 days before she went into the hospice facility. She was able to use her hands. And one of the things she wanted to use her hands for was to thumb through a cookbook to find me the recipe for Captain's
Country Captain.
Country Captain, yes.
Her favorite, and we love it.
Yeah.
Well, if you permit me, I wrote something I'd like to read, and then I was going to turn it over to Dale if you can stand it. So anyway, here goes. My first memory of Caroline was seeing her sing with Mark Bingham and the Screaming Gypsy Bandits. That was either in a backyard in Brown County or in the cafeteria of an Indiana University dormitory. I remember someone between their sets putting on a record by William Burroughs reading Naked Lunch, and that Caroline was wearing pants that had fringe on the sides like Pocahontas. I only had the pleasure of working with her for about a month after securing a gig at the newly renovated Depot in Bloomington. We learned about 30 country and Western songs in 3 days before passing the audition and getting the only paying gig in music in town. Mark asked me to leave after about 3 weeks because at that time I wasn't a particularly good drummer. Having found the gig in the first place, I probably should have just been their manager. Caroline and I remained friendly for the duration of our residency in Indiana. I moved to New York City in 1976, and after 15 years, relocated to Eastern Long Island. At this point in life, memory seems to survive only by consensus. And for the longest time, I thought that Caroline had actually visited Long Island in the late 90s. What I think happened, though, was that Patty Perrette and Mark Bingham visited, and that I asked about Caroline. I do remember shortly after meeting Caroline in 1970, asking her about her music, and she said, "I just want to make a statement." We were young, and she was the first person I'd ever heard say that, but I don't think that's why I remembered it. I think it's because she said it. I want to make a statement. I want to keep this upbeat, but I have to say that I'm really sad. I reached out to her a few times over the last 10 years and never managed to wrangle any kind of protracted response, although I have it on good authority that that was not uncommon, that she didn't actually go to email or Facebook very often. Anytime I sent her an invitation for an exhibition, she always responded in the most charming Southern kind of way. The last time was last October. I had a show of work in Long Island, of stuff that I had made in Bloomington. She said she would like to be there, but couldn't do it. For as few words as we ever spoke to each other, her effect on me is indelible. How well do you have to know a person to love them? Sometimes not that well at all. So, Dale?
Not much to say. Just thank you for hosting this, Kevin, and seeing all of you helps, kind of soften the blow a little bit. Nice to be able to catch up a little. She was a dear friend, and digging up the video that I made in '75, just to, kind of fill me with joy to see her personality and her talent. And it was a golden time, for so many of us. And I miss them and our little goofy calls in between. Rest in peace.
Kevin,
Thanks, Dale.
you reminded me yesterday when we talked that you got the Dodgers, the gig at the Depot, which was very fortuitous because I used to go there, and that's where I met Caroline. And the first time I saw her perform on stage, I was just enamored with her, and later got to know her better. And in the beginning, it was funny because I went with a friend of mine, Bill, and she was convinced that we were both gay. And but it turned out that wasn't the case. And we got married a couple of years later secretly in Shakertown, Kentucky, didn't tell anybody, and we were married for a long time. And I got to know Alice and all of the Peytons really well. It was a great family, and visited them in West Virginia. And I have a lot of great memories of that time. And I just, what Lee said the other day to me was a reminder is that she was really a star. I think she didn't ever get as famous as I thought she should have, probably because I was her manager. But I think Caroline had all the qualities of a star, and she was burned very bright in many of our lives.
Thanks, Fred. Thanks. So if anybody would like to say something, I see Patrick has his hand up. You can go to the reactions part at the bottom of the bar and hit the raise hand function, and I'll recognize you. Patrick, if you want to go ahead, want to unmute?
Okay, I want to tell about how Caroline came to settle in Bloomington in the first place. A little bit of backstory first. I had just graduated out of IU, summer of '69, living in a little house on South Grand Street, 331, I think it was. And she showed up with a young man named Kevin, I believe his name was. And the first time she opened her mouth, I fell in love with her. It was just amazing sound. So, we chatted a bit and that sort of thing. And then I went off to California with my girlfriend. On the way back from California, we got into a horrendous accident. One of those, the van rolls off an incline down into a canyon. And the woman I was with was hurt very badly. And so I kind of felt I just wanted to stay around her. So we stayed a month in Sacramento while they were getting ready to move her back to Chicago, which was her home. When she moved to Chicago, I followed back. And basically after that, her father chased me off because apparently I wasn't marriage material for his daughter in his opinion. But while I was living with the the friends that I was crashing with in Chicago, I remembered Caroline was going to Northwestern. So we started seeing each other. Just sort of knocking about for a while until I had to leave Chicago and come down to Bloomington. Well, it came down to Bloomington in August of 69, and we started the Screaming Gypsy Bandits in August, September, October, I guess, of 69. Dale remembers. You can see it from his face. Anyway, we got moved out to Needmore. And the band was all living pretty much in one place, except for Michael and Bob. Anyway, at this point, I was getting letters from Caroline because we were still tossing around the idea of staying together. And I remember noticing in her emails, well, in the mail, that she was not happy going to Northwestern. We just didn't know what to do with her in terms of her musical talent, I guess. And so I invited her to come be in our band. At least I thought that would be a good idea. And for various reasons, it crashed and burned, but she came down and stayed and then started, rather than hooking up with me, she ended up hooking up with Mark Bingham, I believe. I was crushed. That's another story. So that's how she got here, 1970, maybe February.
Great, thank you, Patrick. Michael.
Yeah, I'm here. Well, I just wanted to say, you know, I met Caroline, obviously, in the Screaming Gypsy Bandits. And I was always impressed with the fact that she was such a great singer. But for some reason, she seemed also very modest to me. She didn't make a big thing out of how talented she really was. So you just kind of took it for granted. Caroline can sing. She's really great. And it wasn't until I was watching Dale's video, and that was one thing recently, that I watched that and I realized, my God, this woman could do anything, you know? And I had seen her do Pirates of Penzance on the road because she came to Washington, D.C. while I was there. This was in the 80s. And I went and had dinner with her and she got me a ticket. Now, for me to go to an operetta, it was an act of devotion to Caroline, because there's no way you couldn't get me to go to see Pirates of Penzance. You know, you'd have to kill me, and I would kill myself for you if you're going to make me, you know, go to see Pirates of Penzance. But I remember that time thinking, wow, she can sing operetta. And, you know, she never advertised this stuff about her, which is maybe why she didn't get as famous as she should have been. I don't know. The music business is pretty obtuse. You don't know why one thing works and the other doesn't. But, and it's just recently I got in touch with that and realized, good Lord, there isn't anything that she couldn't do. She can act, she can sing opera. She's a hell of a pop singer and a folk singer. And like all of you, I mean, I felt like, seemed like an impossibility to lose Caroline, but it's not impossible for anything, as we all know, as we get older. And I'm certainly sad that she's gone, but one of those things, I'm certainly glad that I was around and that she was my friend for all these years. And we did stay not in touch really that much, but every now and then I'd get a call from her. And when she was in New York, I saw her a lot. And she once confided in me. She was proud of what she had done, I think, in many ways, but she didn't flaunt it. I guess that's Southern charm, perhaps, or just her own modesty. But I remember one time she said to me, you know, they really like me at Pirates of Penzance because I can sing the original score, and Linda Ronstadt doesn't sing the original score. And she was sort of proud of that, of like, oh, So, just sticking it to the pop stars, she was like, but that was true about her. There is a video if anybody wants to look for it. If you look for Andy Gibb and Caroline Peyton, you'll get probably some of you have seen it. You'll get a clip of her on the Merv Griffin show singing a scene from Pirates of Penzance, and boy, she can really sing that stuff.
Mhm.
It's unbelievable. So I'm, and I'm grateful, like I said, that I had her as a friend. And Maureen, does you want to say
Well,
something?
I would like to say something because most of you don't know me. We've been married for 21 years, Michael and I. My name's Maureen. And Michael had told me about all of you and his wonderful experiences and all of that. And he had mentioned Carolyn to me because I've been a professional musician, a singer myself, and a songwriter. And Michael's told me about Carolyn and how talented she was. And, I always thought, oh yeah, I'm sure she was somebody nice. And it wasn't until I saw, well, then of course she got sick and Michael had a long conversation with her and he was very sad about it. And then I saw the video that Dale made with Richie's questions, while Bruce was cutting her hair. And I thought, did Bruce ever cut anyone's hair before?
Yes.
I mean, and he kept going and going. And I thought, as long he's going to keep cutting as long as Rich keeps asking those questions, right? But what impressed me so much about her afterwards, I went and I heard her singing. And of course, in that whole piece that you put together, I saw her singing and all of that. And I was like, yeah. But it's her personality. I mean, as she sat there in the barber's chair, you could see she had just something. It was just her reaction to the questions. It was the way she answered them, and I thought, oh God, I wish I had known her. So that's what I have to say.
Along.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I just wanted to throw my 2 cents worth in, and it's good to see all of you. There's people here I haven't seen in ages. I haven't forgotten any of you, but you know how it is when you're older. You just go about your business every day, and time passes, and next time it'll be my memorial. Who knows what's coming up here? So anyway, I'll turn over the floor to somebody else. And just as a note, I'm at a family reunion here, and so we may have to check out a little bit early, but it's not, I just wanted to be here for as long as I could, so.
And then we can check out the recording later, right?
Yeah, thanks, Michael and Maureen. I've posted my email address in the chat column, and we're recording this to iCloud. So anybody that wants a copy, I assume I can just forward one.
Well, if we can't catch that in the chat column, I'm sure somebody will put it into the email list, right?
Sure.
Okay, good.
Yeah, good. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
See, Richard Cameron.
Greetings. It's really a joy to be here. I'm especially enjoying the remarks about how people have met Caroline. And so I'm going to tell my little story about that. I showed up in Bloomington in 1965, and one of my work study jobs was to play piano for ballet classes. Some of you probably don't know that Caroline came to Bloomington as a music major and was, let's say, a little bit too hippie for the highbrow school of music. So she came in sort of as declaring dance as her major. And I recall noticing this charismatic hippie girl taking the class that I was playing. And I suppose there was a little bit of mutual eyeing of each other. Probably she was glaring at me for eyeing her. But anyhow, one day I showed up and the ballet instructor for a partnering class. This is where the guys and the girls dance together, and the guys are supposed to just stand there and make the girl look beautiful. So the teacher said to me, because there were 15 girls, including Caroline, and 3 guys in class, and he said, Richard, today I'm replacing you with a record. So come on out here. And who did I get to partner but Caroline? And so there we are, and I have no dance experience. She was very conscientious. She had wonderful alignment. And it was time to do these turns where the guy holds up his middle finger and the girl hangs on to it. She swings a leg around, brings it in. 2 things happened. Number 1, she unwound my finger. Number 2, she kneed me right in the privates, and I fell to the floor. She came down onto the floor and embraced me. That's how we met. My first collaboration with her was to ask her to dance in a piece that I wrote. The piece was called The Awakening, and it had a text from, I think it was the Chiricahua tribe. So I'm hoping I can get through this poem, because this is kind of a tribute. The poem goes, I become my dream of life. I dream to prosper. I do not dream to work. I dream to learn to live. I cannot be taught to dream. I become my dream. Thanks.
Thanks, Richard. Thank you. Chris. I think you're muted. Still muted.
There we go. Okay. I'm doing this on my phone, so I don't know where everything is on the phone. Kevin, thank you very much for inviting me and for putting this together. Caroline and I were not personal friends. I lived in Bloomington when she did. I lived in New York when she did. I knew who she was, but I don't think she ever knew who I was. So that's my relationship with her personally. However, her voice and her performances, as I'm sure you all have experienced yourself, was so magical. And the time I spent in Bloomington, I don't even think it was that many years, 4 or 5. She was the scenery, she was the backdrop, she was the orchestra. I had the records. Anytime she was performing, I made sure I could be there to see her. Listening to the old albums again just brings back so many memories. And I was surprised, because we weren't personal friends, how deeply it affected me to hear that she had passed. And I just wanted to have somebody to talk to about it. And then I got your email, Kevin. So I really appreciate it. I have one memory. I can hardly use a sentence that says Caroline and I, because there was no Caroline and I, but Caroline and I were in the sauna together, in Bloomington, Indiana, in the women's locker room. And it was the weekend. And there was I think there were only 3 of us in the whole locker room. And she and I were in the sauna at the same time. And we were both in our reverie. And I didn't want to say, hi, I'm a fan. So I just let her be. But I just remember how exquisite she was to look at, not even to hear. I mean, I knew how she sounded. And it seemed like she was so fine and delicate that she couldn't possibly be part of this world. And now she's not, and I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry. You know how you have these old friends and you don't see them all the time, but you know they're out there, and it makes you feel good to know they're out there. They're like an anchor for you in a way. And then when you hear that someone's gone, it just takes your breath away, and you go, oh no, I wish I would have whatever. The only thing I remember about watching her sing was I think she had moved to New York and came back to Bloomington, and there was a gig that maybe a bunch of you on this call did with her at the Monroe County Library. And if any of you performed with her, I'm sorry to say, I only remember her. And she was singing that dirty bluesy song, and I guess all bluesy songs are kind of dirty, but it was, I'm built for comfort, I wasn't built for speed. And I was sitting next to Ruthie Handley. I don't know if any of you remember Ruthie. And she jabs me in the ribs and she whispers in my ear, I'm built for comfort, she's built for speed. But, you know, the one and only Caroline Peyton, you know, she's a dear person in my memories. She's like the golden thread through the gauze. I'm sorry that she's no longer with us. I'm sorry. And thank you, Kev, for putting this together.
Thanks, Chris. That was beautiful. Hey, Bob.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm joyful today. She is great. We got to know each other. Lucky me. I met her, I was doing a gig at a place in Bloomington called The House, which was run by the university school students. And it was a folk music venue. And there showed up a couple of young women and they both had guitars and they were hanging out together. I'm not sure if they were dressed exactly the same or not, but they might have been. I just recently saw a picture of them that somebody posted. It was Mary Flower and Caroline Peyton. And they took a shine to me. And man, I was so knocked out by the both of them. You know, I didn't really know what to do. And anyway, I said, you want to come to my place? So I was staying in one of those, used to be just a mobile home out by the Indiana University Stadium. And it was kind of a dumpy joint, but you know, that's what it was. And we went back to the place and smoked some hash. I remember I had some strong hash. We smoked some of that and went along, and we were sharing tunes. And that's where I met Caroline and Mary, and the two of them I thought were inseparable. And that was in the Fall of Love, 1968. And we got to be good buddies. And when it came time to, when Barbecue Records was going and they decided they had enough money to make a record with me, Caroline was there. And she helped make the record. lucky me. Just been lucky all the time to know her. And lucky to know all you. That's all I got to say. Thank you. Oh, I do have one little thing to say. I wrote a little song, and I didn't really write it for Caroline, but for occasions like this. I'm not going to get out a guitar or anything, but it goes like this. Pour yourself a glass, my friend. You better make it two. A double for the road. Joy and trouble we've been through. Pass the glass around, my friend. We all might have a share. When tomorrow comes, we'll have equal comfort there. There's no denying in our youth, we met the danger boldly with the truth. Sat right there and smiled unashamed in the photo booth. The photo booth. We were the party that never ends. We laugh and sing and dance to our heart's content. And I'm so glad I met you there, my friends. That's it.
Thanks, Bob. I still have the dancer inside you. I love it. It still sounds great. That's Duncan. Next would be Robert English.
Hi there, everyone. I really appreciate y'all having this. And Caroline is one of my cousins and stuff on my mom's side. And we've been together at various family events and stuff like that, as well as she just lives right down the road. And so and I've helped her out with her computers and stuff like that. And relatively recently even, yeah. And but she she's really a professional, you know, and so I mean I didn't even realize how much so, you know, and stuff. But you know, it's almost like a library of all the information about her on the internet, you know, I mean, and she's had, I mean, there's an article in the Wall Street Journal, I think, or New York Times anyway, and stuff, let alone the scene and all those things and stuff. But you know, we've had some good times and stuff. But you know, I was in contact with her on Facebook, her limited connection there, and or text messaging, I should say, and stuff. But Alice M, you know, she's a family member too, you know, and stuff. I mean, and so you know, I've seen her at family reunions and locally too, some on occasion and stuff. But I'm real good friends with Caroline's quote unquote caregiver and stuff, Suzette Peyton and stuff. And I've done work for her quite a bit and stuff. I mean, she's an attorney and stuff, but she's not practicing anymore. But you know, I was looking in my text messages, you know, and you know, ran across a text message that, you know, like y'all were saying, she didn't do too much of that on the text messaging and stuff like that. But you know, the ones that, I mean, I look back on, you know, I mean, it was really good positive things and that sort of thing. And you know, I see Evan Farnsworth and so, and he's also a family member and on here. And I just, you know, really sorry that, you know, she passed away like she did and stuff. I mean, we did get together on occasion and stuff, but you know, mostly, you know, through Suzette and but her kids, you know, you know, I have a little bit of a connection with them And but you know, I guess that's kind of about it, you know. So, but you know, we will always love Caroline, and she was a great performer. And you know, Grimy is here in Nashville. You know, she had a one time she invited everyone over to that, you know, and so she sang, you know, with some local people. I mean, it was her actually singing, but it was, you know, with a lot of friends and all that sort of thing, and that was really good. And but I guess that's about it, you know. But we will always love Caroline.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Robert.
Thanks, Robert. That's beautiful. Thank you for being here.
Appreciate it.
Deborah.
Yes, me. I'm Caroline's childhood friend and grew up with the Peyton family. I think the story of how we met, I think my mother ran over their dog or hit their dog in the road, and they met and realized I was from a family of 5 girls and they had 3 girls almost the same age. So we all became very best friends. And it was like kind of magical going over to Peyton house because they always had a dress up box and we'd reenact every play we, you know, dared wish to be in or whatever. And it was really fun. And she taught me how to play the ukulele. The Peyton girls would go off to camp and come back and bring back folk songs. And then I went from there to the guitar, but there was a lot of singing, a lot of playing, and we really had a great time together. And there was a wonderful musical theater back then, Charleston Light Opera Guild. And they're really still going strong and honestly is a terrific theater group. But I tried out a few times, but every time a Peyton girl tried out, they would get the part, especially Caroline. But I was in a play with her in the 4th grade, The King and I, because they had a huge cast of children. So that was her start, I think, in theater. And then she ended up being in several plays in high school, West Side Story, and did a just amazingly wonderful performance back then. So anyway, we walked to school practically every other day in junior high because her dad would let us off across the bridge and we'd sing on the way. And then we even made up some kind of stupid little language we used together. But she went through junior high and high school with me. And I think the best thing I ever saw her in, I sort of lost track with her when she left, was the Fantastics. It was summer stock theater in the round, and she was absolutely fabulous. So I knew she was going to go places. So it's nice to see some of the friends that she's ended up with and hear what she went on to do. And I've seen her, the Pirates of Penzance clips and all that stuff. And I always say, I have a really famous friend, and she's the background to some of the Disney movies and things like that. So anyway, my childhood at the Peyton house and with Caroline was sort of magical that way. And just want to say it, I see a couple of her childhood friends here too, Emily and Laurie. And so I'm just shocked that she's gone, but I'll always have those sweet memories. Thanks.
Thanks, Deborah. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. Gerard.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having this. This is really great to remember Caroline because she was really a force, a very positive, wonderful force. I think her talent and vocal skill was startling. She was just so capable of doing almost anything she wanted to vocally. But she was an entertainer at heart. We played for a couple of years in LA when she was auditioning her original songs and at different studios and venues in Los Angeles area. In the context of the current new wave punk, funk, and glam rock that was swirling around at the time, she was always a dynamic performer and always won over her audiences. But in terms of success, her wry, Southern, smart, quick sense of humor was probably just a little too real for the pop vision of the world. A song that used to kill me that she had in her repertoire was Addicted to the Guiding Light, which was really a throwback to the 60s and 70s, but it was just typical of her point of view and what she really, somebody mentioned this earlier, wanted to make a statement about. I don't know, it was the statement that brought her the most success, but certainly that came after we played together. And she went on to work with the Pirates of Penzance and really, became a star and worked with Disney through that. But she was always an entertainer at heart, and whether you were over for her Sunday night spaghetti or cream cheese and jalapeno jelly, she always shined in her lilting voice and had a great laugh. And it was just a wonderful thing to have known her and to have spent the time that I did with her. So I want to thank you for letting me share that with you.
Thanks, Gerard. Thank you for that. Emily.
Okay. Like Debbie and Laurie, I've known Caroline for a long time. And by the way, Debbie and Laurie, the person masquerading as Bob Sloan is Melanie. That is her disguise, okay? I met Caroline in the hallway of John Adams Junior High when we were in the 7th grade. And even then, she was an artist. She was devoted to the idea of becoming a performer. That always defined her. And I can say, like so many who have known her for a very long time, she was a very loyal friend. Once she decided she was my friend and I was her friend, that was it. We had the pleasure of reconnecting about 30 years ago when she and Brendan and their twin girls moved to Nashville. And I had lost touch with her. I didn't even know what her last name was. I had last seen her in 1975, I believe, when the Screaming Gypsy Bandits came and did a performance at Vanderbilt. And we were still in touch then, and she let me know, and I went to see her then, but we had lost touch. And the only contact information I had was her parents' phone number in West Virginia. So I really wanted to get in touch with her, and I called and talked to her mom, and mom said, well, good thing you called this week because we're moving to Hilton Head next week. And she told me Caroline's last name and where she lived and the fact that she and Brendan and the girls were moving to Nashville. So we reconnected and I helped them a little bit with house hunting. And when they moved here, I would go to all of Caroline's dinner parties and she would come to mine. And we've had a lot of contact the last 35 years. And I'm really glad that I was able to spend time with her also during this last year to go and visit with her. She had essentially stopped driving about 2.5 or 3 years ago. She just kept saying, I can't feel my feet. I can't feel my feet. And, you know, I mean, I thought it was just run-of-the-mill neuropathy, but it turned out to be so much more than that. So she will always occupy a very special place for me. And that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Emily. That's beautiful. Thank you. The floor is open.
Let me mention a couple things. I met Caroline and Fred back in Bloomington, but we really began to spend a lot of time when we all wound up in Los Angeles. And just following up on a couple of things that that Gerard said a few minutes ago. It was an incredibly dynamic period. We were all kind of hustling, starting our careers, and it really did seem like Caroline was going to be a big star. Some of the shows were incredible, and Caroline and Gerard, who was her guitar player, had just an incredible chemistry. They were a real band, and it was just a phenomenal period. We just all seemed like it was all going to happen just any day now. I hadn't talked to Caroline or heard from her in many years, and she called me about a few years ago, and we just had a long rambling conversation where she apologized for things she said. I apologized for things I said. It was a very funny kind of conversation, and we made some kind of commitments about talking more often, and we never did, and I'm a little bit sorry about that. But she was quite an incredible person. I always thought of her as a star, and I think she was. And I guess that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thanks, Lee.
Thanks, Dave. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Ray.
Richard, did you want to say something else?
Oh, me? I can speak now?
What I wanted to mention is that a mutual friend of Caroline and mine from Bloomington, the actor Kevin Klein, asked me to say a couple words from him to all of you. He knew Caroline in Bloomington. He's the one who showed the Intuition album to the producers of Pirates of Penzance and prompted them to hire her. When I told him about Caroline's passing, he said, I've always held out hope that I would be able to collaborate with her one more time. So I just wanted to pass that on to all of you.
Thanks, Richard. Dale.
Hi, this is Elena. I met Caroline rather late in the Bloomington period when I got together with Dale. And, initially, I only say this to, put it in context. And initially, I didn't really like Caroline very much. I mean, her constant bravado, I found fairly annoying at the time. Till I spent more time with her, and I realized that she hid her vulnerability through that bravado. And I realized, the more time I spent with her, I grew to love her and have respect for her, because I realized she was so beautiful and so talented. There was so much passive aggressive attention coming her way, especially male attention. And at that time, women really weren't given the tools to deal with that, especially very talented women. And I just came to really understand and respect that she, was trying to be a whole person through all that, was trying to deal with the power that she had in a kind of holistic way and not a self-destructive way. She was trying. And, we parted, being around each other constantly when we moved to Berkeley. And she was still on the path of, trying to figure it out. But I just had tremendous respect for her for trying to harness, trying to harness her talent and the power that she had, considering what was being thrown at her and how she had to kind of search all of that to find truth and integrity in it.
Thanks, Elena. Thank you. Maureen or Michael?
Said Elena.
Well said, Elena. Very good. I just had one story I'll relate to Caroline, how she was an important friend in my life, and it came as quite a blow, even though I knew it was coming when I found out she'd passed. But one time back in Bloomington, I have to say I was on one of my harebrained schemes that I've done at different times in my life. I decided to take up racing cars, and I was having a good time doing this, and I was running out of money. And I thought, who do I know that has money? I thought, Caroline has money. So I went out to her little house. She was living with Freddie, I believe, out in this little house in the country. And I asked her, I said, Caroline, look, I'm going to need about $3,000 to finish this season up. I really need to get this money. You know that I'm an honest person. I'll give it back to you. And she said, and she just turned around, and she was in the garden work, and she just turned around and she looked at me like she was my mother. And she said to me with her, that gentle Southern dialect she had, you just seem to be hell-bent on killing yourself in racing cars. What's the matter with you? She said, it's just silly. You shouldn't be doing that. And I realized that she was berating me. I said, no, she actually really does care about me. This is surprising. I thought she thought, I wasn't used to getting that kind of real affection from people. So I thought, wow, that's amazing. And she didn't give me the money, of course, but that didn't seem to make any difference to me, because I thought, well, I'm glad, because I loved Caroline and I wanted to be held in respect. And I thought, well, when she said that, it says, this is somebody who really actually cares about you, and she's so talented. I've known a lot of talented people, and not many of them are that caring about other people around them. They kind of get absorbed in themselves.
Except for that saxophone player.
Well, except for Mike Brecker, who helped me out a lot too. But so, and that was the story that I always remembered, when she gave me a really good dressing down. It was like, I always was embarrassed that, I had to finish the season, which I did somehow, but it was a good thing. But that's Caroline. That's who she was. So that's my little story.
Thanks, Michael. Mark.
Hi, everybody. You're going to be a pretty tough act to follow all of this, but I wanted to just share some memories of Caroline, just to add to the funeral pyre that we're building in her honor. I moved to Bloomington when I was 20 years old, and pretty naive about lots of stuff, including how different it was to be in the South, because I was from Northern Michigan. I thought Bloomington was the weirdest place I'd ever moved to, because the waitress in the big wheel called me honey. I thought that was the strangest thing. I thought I must really have moved to Mississippi. This is so strange. And then I met Caroline. I had never met anybody so deeply South in her accent, in her carriage, and her demeanor. And it was just such a treat and such a shock to meet someone from the deep South. She was my first. And obviously I was very blessed. I'd like to echo Bob's words of being able to work with her and collaborate with her on studio projects over the years, and a bunch of other interesting recordings that we did. And we had kind of dropped out of touch. And then a couple of years ago, she was coming to Bloomington for a family wedding. So she called me up out of the blue, and we made a date to have dinner at Little Tibet down on 4th Street. And we sat there for a couple hours and reminisced and talked about the world and things that have been happening to both of us. And and she was not driving at that point. And I could tell, we talked a little bit about the neuropathy that she was feeling. So I drove her back to the hotel and went in, and Suzette was there, as well as a bunch of other family members I waved at. And we sat around the hotel lobby and reminisced even more. And we were thinking about another little side project that I did with Caroline and Suzette. It was called The Kissin' Cousins. It was a little EP record that they made around Christmas time, one of those years in the 70s, So that's added to our discography too, and is in very few collections, the Kissing Cousins. But I would say just, she always sang from her heart and her head at the same time. She had so much technical talent that managing all of that and still being an accessible person took an immense amount of discipline and physical strength. What she did was not easy to do. And it was a blessing to me to learn how to record such a versatile voice. It helped me the rest of my life in many ways, Caroline did. So those are my stories. Just the fact that she looked me up after all those years and I got to see her a couple of years ago was really a tremendous blessing after all this time. And I do want to mention that she and Freddie loaned me their house a couple of different times. Once in Bloomington after I'd fallen out of the back of David Coleman's pickup truck while moving a PA system. I was able to recuperate from my injuries in their house out by Lake Lemon. And then another time in LA, for reasons I can't quite figure out, I was able to have their house to myself as well. So thanks for that. They were very giving people. They are very giving people.
Thanks, Mark. Great to hear you. Great to see you. Kathy, did you have your hand up earlier?
Did.
Okay.
Freddie brought us Caroline, and we got to see her quite often in live performances. And I know everybody's been talking about her voice, and I always said it had like limitless perfection. But what I came to realize in just hanging out with her and being with her was, she shares this with Freddie as well, is this amazing ability to listen. And she listened to not only what you were saying, but what you weren't saying. And she'd figure out how to use that, usually to bring something that you needed. So it was very unique to be in her presence. And I got to shoot her one day, photography. We took the whole day. And I don't have those photographs with me now. They're in storage, but I hope to find them because it was, you'll see, hopefully. The beauty was inside and out. And anyway, I think she had such a gift that if you can imagine that the Tibetan theories of having many lives, I think if that's true, she must have had done really well to then appear in this lifetime with that kind of beauty, and talent. So that's what I'm hoping for, is that it's not really over, and we might be able to eventually escape the ritual of being born again and become Buddha or whatever. But I am very grateful, and Ray is too, that we had the opportunity. And it's good to see some of you here tonight. And so that's all. Do you have anything you want to say?
No, you said it all.
Okay.
Thanks, Catherine. That was great. Bob Sloan. You may have to turn up your volume. Still can't hear you. Okay, we'll come back. We'll come back to you. Evan.
Hey, everybody. I'm one of Caroline's cousins. I believe we're second or third cousins, once removed, however that works. I was the same age as Caroline's two twin daughters, Leela or Caitlin and Jamie. I grew up in Brookhaven, so every time that Caroline and the twins came to town, I got to see them and run around town with the twins. But one of my, many frequent and best memories of Caroline was her leading, play along or sing alongs around the piano. And it, always ended with her or Suzette or Al with a beautiful soloist at the end. And I always, just remember learning so much about music and harmony every time I got to sing with her. And it really inspired me as a budding musician. But the thing that struck me about Caroline and that I will always remember her for is for her kindness. She always had a unique way of showing her care and love. I know that each of y'all have experienced that. So it's wonderful to hear her music live on through her daughters who have also devoted their lives to the arts. And it's been great to hear stories from each of y'all who also love Caroline.
Thanks, Evan. Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
Condolences. Josephine?
Hello, I'm a Peyton cousin, and so I felt the need to speak because the Morton cousins have been speaking. Caroline always tried to get us to sing and dance with her, but I wasn't of that sort. So I enjoyed watching them, and we always, like Evan was talking about, have family things, and Caroline, Suzette, and Alice would show off all their wonderful talent, and we all had great fun. But I did go to graduate school, and one of my very first publications as a doctoral student, I interviewed Caroline. And I interviewed her because she was a songwriter, and I thought, well, literacy educators really do value words and value different ways of expressing themselves. So in 1996, I interviewed her. And I think the title of I had to go back and find the chapter. It's been a long time since I wrote it. And the title of the chapter captures everything you guys have been talking about. And I titled it Songs Capture Something That's Gone and Make It Into Something Tangible, an interview with songwriter Caroline Peyton. So I felt that I should share that and represent the Peytons. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thanks, Josephine. I'll say something else. When I think about Caroline, I tend to forget that she spent so much time in West Virginia. I always just think Mississippi. And my wife's parents, they're from DC. So every August they have a reunion and all of my wife's siblings all meet in this part of West Virginia. And it's right over the Virginia state line. And so at some point, we venture into Winchester, Virginia, which was like Stonewall Jackson's headquarters, basically. And it's also the birthplace of Patsy Klein. And I always make a pilgrimage to Patsy Klein's birthplace. I even went to her grave once. I don't know, but it doesn't matter who the singer is. I always sort of reflect back to Caroline. And I've had a chance in New York to work with some amazing musicians and some great singers. And I actually, I felt like in some ways Bloomington kind of spoiled me, not only for musicianship, but also in terms of vision. And I was asked to join a couple of pretty well-known New York bands. And I was like, nah, I don't think so. I mean, I just got really spoiled in Bloomington and spoiled by Caroline, just not only her obvious physical talent, but just as everybody said, the inner and the outer. If anybody else would like to say something. Jim.
There. I think I'm unmuted. I didn't know Caroline that well when she was musically active because I came to Bloomington in 1972 and I was kind of intimidated by all you amazing creative musicians who were so much older than me, like 5 years. And it's funny to think back on that now, but fast forward to about 3 years ago, I was in the midst of working at WFHB and a radio station, by the way, that she sang at the very first benefit for. And we had a thing called the Acoustic Roots Festival. It's the last one that we had at Upland Brewing, and I kind of achieved one of my bucket list things is I booked a double bill of Bob Lucas and Austin Lucas, which was a pretty amazing day. But Caroline showed up that day, and it was just such a treat to finally talk to her as a sort of peer, because I was always so intimidated back when I was younger. And Bob might remember what songs they sang, but she actually got up on stage and sang with Bob Lucas. And a couple years after that, she sent me an email, and I was invited the dinner that Mark Hood spoke of, but I couldn't make it because my brother was having health problems of his own, and I was kind of in and out of town dealing with that, and I was just pretty antisocial, so I didn't go. So I could always kick myself for not going and hanging out at the Little Tibet that night. But what I really want to say is there's a cosmic thread of Bloomington somehow running through all this. And I was watching Dale's video, and when he posted it the other day, and Rich asked Caroline about who were some of the good songwriters. And I do believe she said Art Heckman, who is a songwriter who's still around Bloomington, who's amazing, not very well known. Well, a day or two after Caroline, I learned of Caroline's death, I had a very vivid dream that I was giving her a ride on a motorcycle. Now, I don't ride motorcycles, but it was pretty awesome that I was giving her a ride somewhere. I don't know where we were going, but she leaned forward and she said, Art Heckman really is an amazing songwriter. So I'm sitting here in Prospect Hill on this Zoom meeting with you guys, and I'm thinking about that, and I'm looking out the window right here to the alley, and who walks by but Art Heckman.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, it's all connected somehow, and I don't really know what that means, but I wanted to tell everybody. So great seeing everybody. I love hearing these stories.
Thanks.
Jim?
Good to see you.
I've got an article here that you wrote in 1975 from the Primo Times.
Oh, wow.
Barbecue, a different kind of label. And you say nice things about Bob, Caroline, Mark, Bill Schwartz, everybody.
Oh, cool.
You were a big supporter.
Yeah, yeah. And I felt very welcomed by, like I said, all you awesome older people that that I was intimidated by. So it's really great to again feel like I'm peers to you all now, and I'm not the kid anymore.
You were definitely the kid.
Jim, did you ever find out anything from the library or from the media center if they have a better copy of that video?
No, I was getting a metal roof put on my house last week, and I was outside working with the crew in the Hoosier summer heat, and I just never, I called down there a couple of times, but I wasn't able to reach the right person. So I will try to track that down, because they still have those reel-to-reel tapes. And as we've discussed before about MX80 material, they are slowly baking them and transferring them to digital. But so is your copy just like, was it shot off of a TV screen? And you
had no way of getting it from the old Portapack deck. There was no way for me to figure out how to interface it. So I had made a DVD of it a while ago, just a cheeseburger DVD, when I was able to make some sort of transfer. It was a really bad transfer to begin with, and then I had no other way to do it after that. So I just shot it. Now I could probably, if I could find that again, I could probably upload it a different way. But if there's a good recording, that'd be lovely to see some of it with better sound, especially, you know.
They could do direct to digital transfer that would be great.
Yeah.
I'll work on it.
Let's see, Lori Williams has her hand up.
Just briefly, I grew up on South Fort Drive with Caroline and another friend, Sarah Lamb, who lived right next to the Peytons, but she couldn't be here today. She's traveling. I did send her the information. When there was in I guess, junior high school. I don't know if it started in elementary school, but there were 6 girls who formed this music group called the Merry Six. And Debbie and Caroline were the 2 truly gifted musicians and singers. I don't remember the other 3, but I know I was not. And I think what I'm realizing is that Caroline was so gracious to never make anyone else feel less than. As many people have alluded, she was very confident and sure of herself. And maybe that was part of her confidence, that she could share her confidence with others. But, you know, in retrospect, I'm very grateful because I'm very aware that I was never as good a singer as Caroline. Also, by the way, her accent is not really a West Virginia accent. I think the accent that, well, I don't know where Alice lives now, but I think all the Peyton girls got their accent from their mother, Joanne, who never lost her deep South accent. So that's all I want to say.
Thanks, Lori. We like the accent. Anyone else? Carol. Still muted.
Yeah. There's Carol.
There you go. No, now you're muted. There you go. Okay. You're muted.
It won't stay unmuted. Okay, maybe I got it. Anyway, I'm Fred's sister Carol, Caroline's ex-sister-in-law, and can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. We were very, very close, and we stayed close for a long, long time. And I'm sorry I didn't know she was ill at the end, but we were always very close. She was like a sister to me. And I was always in awe of her singing and her performances, and saw many, many, many of them and loved them all. But the thing I remember the most is she would always indulge me, because I'd ask her to sing silly songs like Puff the Magic Dragon and just silly songs, and she would always oblige and laugh. I just remember her laugh so well, and all the fun times we had. And I'm just so sad. But I want to give my condolences to her family, the sisters Alice, Suzette, and Katie and Jamie, and tell them how sorry I am. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you.
Melanie's been waving her hand for a while.
Okay. Hey, Melanie. If you can unmute. There you go.
Hi, I was Caroline's accompanist in junior high and high school. And we actually did a recital together, a duo recital, when I think we were probably 15 at my piano teacher's house. And believe it or not, I ended up in Bloomington about 15 years. I mean, bringing the Bloomington thing back 15 years after she left. And I thought maybe if you would indulge me, I would play about a 60-second piece for her, since I think every memorials need some sort of musical tribute.
Please.
So here it is. It's Chopin, written by Schumann. screwed up a little bit, but you know, that's
Don't we all?
the way you do when you're 70.
That's beautiful.
Caroline was always a wonderful person to work with. And I think I accompanied her in the Fantastics when she was in the Fantastics too. So it was a great relationship. And I got to see her in the past few years, and she was just wonderful and bubbly as usual. I think we had a singing session in her recording studio, and I played for her again. So I hope she heard that, sort of. That's enough.
Thank you. Thank you, Melanie. Emily.
I just wanted to remind Melanie that she accompanied Caroline when Caroline auditioned for the symphony, for the amateur division of the symphony when she was 15. Remember, somebody had given her, I think it was her music teacher, because she had run away from home at that point, and who knows where she was living, but I think it was her music teacher who gave her that dress that was a mini dress for her to wear at her symphony audition. And all the people who were the judges could talk about was how inappropriate the dress was because it was a mini dress. Remember that?
That's great. That's great. Anyone else? Let's see. I don't see your name, but go ahead. Oh, Galaxy.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Tom Harlan. Dale sent me your invitation, and we had the pleasure of doing 2 gigs as the first national band before we were the Screaming Gypsy Bandits. So the Bandits came together at 10th and Lincoln, and then went from there to Needmore, et cetera, et cetera. But the thing I want to say about Caroline was just that what a loving person she was. A few years back, I got on Facebook and I was playing my guitar and singing and wrote a few songs and so forth. But Caroline got after me and she said, Tom, she said, I want to hear the harmonica, you know, because that was my gig. But we played at the Memorial Stadium gig, and we got all of the 12 or 13 Screaming Gypsy Bandits all got in for free, and we earned $50. The Airplane and BB King and so forth all got like 15,000. The Birds
were there too.
But we got about 75 or 100 people in for free too. They all came in the back gate. But Caroline was after me. She said, I want to hear the harmonica. So I made a video and played 3 songs on the harp. But, you know, that's just who she was. And I enjoyed the movies that were made about her daughters and so forth. You know, what a wonderful person. And I'm just Janet and I are here together. And we're just happy to have known her and glad to be part of this memorial service. So thank you so much, Kevin.
Thanks, Tommy. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Hi, Kevin. Janet Helber.
Janet, okay.
Nice to see you.
Wow.
Haven't seen you for years. Yeah, we miss Caroline.
We miss her, she said. Anyway, thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Dale.
Thanks, Tommy. Good to see you, Janet.
Nice to see you too.
Let's see, somebody else had there. Who else? Richard.
I just wanted to talk about Caroline's aesthetic versatility. Some of you already know that she recorded in a chamber choir some of Bach's cantatas conducted by Helmuth Rilling. Unfortunately, when the records came out, they didn't cite every vocalist in the group, but they're out there, and she was singing what was in Baroque terms called the treble line with 3 other sopranos. Already she was doing that in Bloomington. Uh, you may also know that she sang La Boheme at the Public Theater, Joseph Papp's Public Theater, alternating evenings with Linda Ronstadt again. So there she was with Puccini. I actually abandoned my doctorate at IU thanks to Caroline. I was so enamored of her vocal ability, the avant-garde things that she could do with her voice, you know, singing 2 or 3 notes simultaneously in the high range, for example, and proposed as my doctoral thesis composition a chamber opera that would be called Slow Blues for the Last Samurai, sort of a trippy libretto with a samurai at the moment of his death, finding himself standing outside the Bluebird and hearing Caroline sing. Well, the doctoral thesis committee, these cobwebbed musicologists, just turned up their noses, and one of them said to me, well, we're very sorry, but your proposal is not representative of the musical values of the IU School of Music. And well, anyway, to make a long story short, I responded, as I often did back in the day, with, but isn't that the School of Music's shortcoming rather than mine? Caroline, who was waiting outside, said to me, Richard, time to pack your bags. And that was it. I got out of Bloomington after they rejected that. I couldn't abide by that rejection. Ended up in New York, where I hooked up with her again after she got to New York for Pirates.
Thank you. Hey, Bob.
Yeah, excuse me.
I just wanted to say to you guys, thank you so much, Kevin and Dale, for having the patience to put this together. And I just think it's really remarkable. Of course, Zoom is the mode of communication these days, but it's not, I think this is one hell of a gathering. Good job, real good job. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Thank you. I'm glad you made it. Somebody else? Tommy.
Yeah, Kevin, I just wanted to bring Patrick in on that bandit thing and appreciate him and all of his music and his sensitivity and his love for Caroline, and so you know, props to my brother Patrick.
I want to see him at band.
Janet says she'll see him at band practice, so okay.
Alice?
Yes, I'm unmuted. Just one little remembrance that somebody just reminded me of. And you'll enjoy hearing this, all of you. Once at Christmas time, Caroline was, I don't remember how old she was at the time, but she was probably home from Bloomington or someplace. And we were singing around the Christmas tree, and she sang a solo. And on a high note of her solo, a glass ornament popped on the Christmas tree. She broke an ornament with her voice. I don't think it was intentional, but it happened.
It's wild. I believe it.
Yeah.
Well, anybody else? Robert English, did you have your hand up again?
No, I was just clapping and stuff, so, that sort of thing.
Well, it's really great seeing all of you people again. I wish we could do something in person, maybe for the, there's going to be a total eclipse in 24 in Bloomington. Maybe we can all get there and hang out.
Let's do that.
I agree, Dale. It's great to, I've lost touch with so many people in my life, and it's so great to see all of you. And Kevin, thank you so much for putting this together. It was last minute, but it was really wonderful. And I'm sure Caroline would appreciate it. She's probably the saddest one. She would have enjoyed this more than anybody.
I figured if I didn't, somebody else would, but I just, I knew that this was coming because I'd spoken to Mark Bingham, but still I was like, I just too big a part of my life, really, and I think everybody has said the same thing more or less, regardless of how little or how much you knew her. I just think it was one of those people, She could say one sentence and you'd fall in love with the entire South. Catherine?
Yes, I was going to say that tonight is the full moon,
Yeah.
and we should all say to go to the white light and just still be here for her, because I think we are dreaming, and we should do that tonight when we see our full moon. And thank you,
Definitely.
everybody.
You guys, thank you all very much. I gotta go. Love you.
I've posted my email address here, so if anybody, we'd like to get the video circulating. Dale will have a copy. I'll have a copy. So some way, if you want one, you just reach out to one of us, and you'll get it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Everybody, love you. Bye.
Yeah.
Likewise.